Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
I'm going to be really honest with you. Men always try to act like it's the women who are jealous and the women who are petty.
Talk about it.
But the reality is men are the pettiest. I want to use the appropriate words because I want to.
What's the tweet, Carrie? Think of the messiest person you know. It's a man, ain't it?
I didn't say it. She did.
I didn't say it. Somebody on Twitter said it. Think of the messiest person.
Speaking of messy,
you know what? I can't agree with that. I don't think we're petty. As a man, I will speak for men in saying that I don't think we're petty. Can we be petty? Probably. But I think at the core of who we are, I don't know that we're any more petty than women are. But, it's an interesting conversation. The clip that you just heard was from the Flagrant and Funny podcast with Carrie Champion and Jamel Hill. Shout out to those ladies. They just started a new venture, and that was their initial episode. And but the reason why I wanted to use that clip was because I found myself as they were talking asking, "Are you petty like that?" And I don't think that I am, but I got to thinking about a couple of scenarios where I may have been petty. Now, let me kind of give you the synopsis of what they talked about, because that led into a conversation. And the conversation that actually started it all was they were talking about how petty Michael Jordan has been when it comes to his arch nemesis when he played basketball in the NBA, a man by the name of Isiah Thomas. Now, for those of you who don't know, let me start by saying that Michael Jordan is my favorite basketball player. Jordan's my guy, right? So I will tell you this and not be biased. So back in the day, it was alleged that Jordan's rookie year, which was 1984, and I remember this very well, Jordan made the All-Star game. And legend has it that Isiah Thomas, who had made the All-Star game as well, they were playing for the East. Now, this was when, you couldn't, if your team was in the East and you played with the East, it's not like how it is now when you got guys playing all over the place. But anyway, it was East versus West. And legend has it was that Isiah had, he had talked to some other players who were going to play in the All-Star game. And they were a little bit leery, and some may have been somewhat jealous of Michael Jordan. Now, again, Jordan was a rookie at the time. It's 1984. Jordan comes in. He's got, he's in a dunk contest. And if you remember the dunk contest, he dunks in his warm-ups. He's got gold chains on. He's got the red and black Air Jordans, the Air Jordan 1s. And so, Jordan was this hotshot rookie. And so legend has it, and again, and what I'm about to tell you is not something that is just made up. This is what we heard back in the day. I was fortunate enough to be around in 1984. I was 12. Okay. So legend has it that Isiah got with some other veterans, and they said that they were going to, freeze Jordan out of the All-Star game, not pass him the ball as much, and to kind of teach him a lesson like, hey, man, you're a rookie. We're vets, you can't come in here showing up or whatever like that. This was back in the day where you had to literally and figuratively earn your stripes. So Jordan got froze out to some degree. Like they didn't pass him the ball, and I don't even know how many points he finished with or whatever, but the line was drawn in the sand. Now it didn't help that Jordan's Chicago Bulls and Isiah Thomas's Detroit Pistons were in the same division, and they were rivals. And Detroit and Chicago, and you got to remember too, Isiah's from Chicago. So they got into it as far as like battles and everything. And Isiah's Pistons knocked Jordan out a couple of years in a row before Jordan finally reached the mountaintop. And and keep in mind that Isaiah's on the way of them knocking Jordan's Bulls out of the playoffs. They won 2 championships. And so in, what was it, 88 and 89, if I'm not mistaken. And so by the time Jordan gets his revenge in 1991, the Chicago Bulls kick the crap out of the Detroit Pistons, right? They sweep them. And what happens is, as the game before the game even ended, Isiah Thomas and the rest of his Pistons teammates, with the exception of Joe Dumars, decided to walk off the court instead of shaking hands with Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, and as a means of congratulating them and showing them off into the NBA Finals. And so not only did they walk off the court, but in the process of walking off the court, they had to walk right in front of the Bulls bench. And and Jordan was on the bench because they had kicked the crap out of Detroit, and Jordan was on the sideline chilling, drinking Gatorade. So Isiah Thomas walks past Jordan, doesn't shake his hand, doesn't even make eye contact with him. In fact, he ducks, and his teammates followed. And Jordan took that personal. And if you followed Michael Jordan and you saw him in the Last Dance documentary, he said that, he took it personal. So you fast forward to 1992, the USA basketball team decides to now, where they had not allowed professional players to play in the Olympics, they were going to use pros from the NBA to capture the goal. And this was going to be what they called the dream team. So the team is going to be made up of 11 pros and I think 1 college kid. And so as the team was being selected, they were rounding up guys, and the Olympic team committee, they knew who they wanted. They knew if they could get Charles Barkley, if they could get Clyde Drexler, if they could get Patrick Ewing, all guys who are all-stars, well within the right. If they could get Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, the one guy that they weren't sure that they could get would be Michael Jordan. And so they reached out to Jordan. And legend has it that, Jordan agreed to play with the Dream Team. Now, here's where it gets shaky. Isiah Thomas was not invited to play on the Dream Team. At the time, Isiah Thomas was probably the second best point guard in the NBA. Well, I guess technically he would have been the best point guard in the NBA because at that particular time, Magic Johnson had retired when he found out he had HIV, but he came back to play with the Dream Team. And so, Isiah is one of the best in the game, but John Stockton got selected and Isiah Thomas didn't get selected. So we all thought, even back then with no social media, we thought that Jordan had something to do with Isiah not being on the team. And they asked him about it. He's like, no, I didn't. He's like, I didn't pick the team. And he did not pick the team. However, what happens is that I think USA Basketball understood that if you select Michael Jordan, if you select Isiah Thomas, you probably don't get Jordan. Because Jordan didn't like Isiah and Isiah didn't like Jordan. Now, I think they both had a level of respect for each other on the court, but once they stepped off the court, they didn't rock with each other like that. Jordan was, a guy who was becoming the face of the league and a superstar. Isiah wasn't. And so there was, and again, Jordan is not only doing this, but he's also balling in the city where Isiah is a basketball god, a basketball savant. He grew up in Chicago. Long story short, Jordan plays in the Dream Team, Isiah doesn't. And there's a level of resentment, and we saw that kind of fester in the documentary The Last Dance, which aired during COVID. Okay, so since then, and Isiah Thomas, who actually appears in The Last Dance, he famously said, I thought I met the criteria, but I wasn't selected. And Jordan kind of clowned him in the documentary. In fact, I think he probably did clown him a little bit. And so since then, Isiah's kind of been on this public tirade to, try to diss Michael Jordan at every turn that he could. And he goes as far as to say that he doesn't think Jordan's the greatest. He thinks LeBron is the greatest, which is fine. You're entitled to your opinion, Isiah. Nobody, even though there's documented evidence of you calling Michael Jordan during a game the greatest of all time. But we'll let that slide. Nonetheless, the pettiness between the two is clearly one-sided because I think Mike was petty back then. Now he doesn't care. If you get a chance to see Isiah Thomas in any interview, any podcast, he can't go 5 minutes without mentioning Michael Jordan's name. And it's always something disparaging or dissing or sneak dissing or whatever you want to call it. I call it hating, but it is what it. They don't like each other. Then they don't have to like each other. They don't have to run in the same circles. Jordan is on a whole nother level. He's not worried about Isiah. Jordan doesn't do TV, he doesn't do interviews, that definitely doesn't do podcasts. But even if I had Michael Jordan in this podcast, I'm not mentioning Isiah Thomas because Michael Jordan doesn't care about Isiah Thomas. Isiah Thomas cares about Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan runs rent-free in his head. And so I said all that to say this. They're petty. So can we be petty as men? Yes. And Jordan was very petty back then to say, not even to say I don't want Isiah on the team, but just to have the influence of he knew that if he was on the team, Isiah wasn't going to be on the team. Now, if Jordan didn't play on the team, I'm pretty sure Isiah makes that team. And here's the caveat to all of this. When the Dream Team was selected, the head coach was the late Chuck Daly. Do you know who Chuck Daly coached for in the NBA? The Detroit Pistons. His star point guard was Isiah Thomas. So if Chuck Daly didn't even pick his own player, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. But he wasn't going to play with the GOAT. It is what it is. Call it petty, and that's where Jamel and Carrie kind of that's where their conversation went, and it got me to thinking about times in my life where I've been petty. Have I been petty? I think I have. I can think of a couple of instances. One that comes back to mind is my time at South Carolina State University. I was a senior, and I was a marketing major, and we had to take this class. I think it was it wasn't a marketing class. I think it was a management class. Let's just say it was intro to financial management. I can't remember the name of the class. So anyway, I'm a senior. This was the first semester of my senior year, and I got in the School of Business where I was graduating from, Belcher Hall, shout out. You had to, at the very least, you have to have a C in all of your classes. Now, in my marketing classes, I never got anything less than a B, right? But this was financial management, and I wasn't really a fan of the class. The professor, Miss Hanks, was a middle-aged white lady. She seemed to be pretty decent of a person, pretty good professor. She knew her stuff. I had taken her for a class before, and I thought we had a good rapport, and I thought, everything was cool. And it was cool until it wasn't. So I remember we get to the end of the year, and we're about to take the final. Now, again, she knows that she has these seniors in her class. And what's interesting was that if you did not pass the class, you could run the risk of not graduating. And so I'm in the class and I'm doing okay. I'll be honest. I'm not focused. I'm focusing on graduating. This class, all I cared about was just getting a C. And did I try my best? No, I didn't try my best. I'll be honest with y'all. So again, there were 6 seniors in the class. My man Mo, shout out to Mo. Mo was in the class with me. And I just remember we took our final, and and I remember her saying, yeah, she was like, somebody asked her about, kids passing the class or whatever. And she was like, yeah, all of my seniors are going to pass. All of my seniors. I remember her distinctly saying that. All of her seniors were going to pass. There was only 6 of us, right? And so the grades came out, and again, this is first semester, and I don't think the class is being offered second semester. So I'm not thinking I'm not going to pass this class because she said all of her seniors passed. And so I'll never forget, we had to go, we left class and then we came back maybe like the next day or whatever. And the grades were posted on a chart outside of the classroom. And it was just posted by social security number. So you see your social security number, you see what your grade is. Looking back on it, we probably shouldn't have done that because, somebody could have stolen your identity, but it was the 90s. We didn't care. And so I saw my social security number and I saw a D and I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, yo, I'm a senior. How did I get a D in this class? Why did she give me a D? That's the way that I thought. I thought she gave me a D. And so I called Mo and I'm like, yo, I said, man, I saw my grade. I got a D. And he was like, what? He was like, yo, I got a C. So Mo got a C. And I said, man, how is that possible? He's like, I don't know. I said, well, she said that all of the seniors passed. I said, I got a D. And like, he just started laughing. And I was like, man, this ain't funny. Like, I got to take this class again. And I was pissed. And I'll never forget, like, I did not say a word to that because here's the thing. When you're in Belcher Hall, you're probably going to see your professors. If you don't take them multiple classes, at the very least, you'll see them in passing. And I saw Miss Hanks, I want to say maybe a day after the grades got posted. And the look that I gave that lady, if I had, fire in my eyes, I would have burned a hole in that lady. It was, oh my God, I didn't want to do anything physically to harm her, but I wanted if she'd have got thrown out the window, I would not have batted an eye. Not that I'm advocating violence, but just you get my point. And so I remember seeing her a couple of times the following semester. And every time I saw her, she got the same thing. And I remember one time it was me and Mo, we were walking to class. We were leaving Belcher and we were going to another class. And she saw us in the parking lot and she spoke and Mo threw his hand up, hey, Miss Hanks. And I just kept my hand down. I didn't say no. I didn't even look her way. And so I didn't even acknowledge the fact that the lady was alive anymore. And shortly thereafter, she saw Mo and she talked to Mo. She pulled him to the side and she said, do you think Kyle is ever going to forgive me for that grade? And he said, Miss Hanks, he doesn't, he's never going to forgive you for that. And she was like, well, I did what I could. And she started telling him about something. And basically, in her mind, it was my fault that I got a D. But that's not the case. I think she gave me a D. I think I earned a C. Now, could I go back and look at my grades and say, I could have done better? Yeah, of course I could have done better. But if you know that I'm a graduating senior, man, give me a couple of points. Give me a couple of points so I can get out of here. Come on, man. And so I saw her a couple of years later after I graduated, still nothing. Ice cold stare down. That lady will never get another word from me. Is she still alive? I think she's still here. I don't know. But if she's listening, that's about all I'm gonna say. Speaking of South Carolina State, there was another instance where I was kind of petty. I think I can share this with y'all because I'm sure she's never gonna hear this. So my freshman year, there was a girl that I really liked. I thought she was mad cool. And like my freshman year, like, you got to remember, I came from a black high school and now I'm on this black college campus at South Carolina State University. And, my MAC game wasn't really, it wasn't there yet. I wasn't macking yet. I wasn't the MEAC Mac, as Eclectic called me. Shout out to Eclectic. I wasn't a MEAC Mac yet. My MAC game wasn't there just yet, but I was working on it, right? And so I met this girl probably midway through freshman year, and she seemed to be pretty cool, really smart, pretty, and I took a liking to her, and she liked me, and so we spent a lot of time. Uh, Maybe I shouldn't say a lot of time. We spent time talking on the phone, dorm phone, folks, not cell phones, because cell phones were. This is 1991. This is the fall of 1991, and so I'm liking this girl. She's not my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend. I'm single. But I'm the more and more I'm talking to her on the phone and we're kind of kicking it, I'm not really pursuing anybody else on campus. And keep in mind, folks, there's 6,000 students on the campus of South Carolina State University at the time. The women outnumbered the men 22-1. And of those, if it was 22 women, 20 of them was fine. And the other two was all right. So we had some fine ladies back there. Okay. And so I was liking this girl and she was liking me. And so I made the mistake of liking her a little bit more than what I probably should have. And I probably should have said, okay, well, hey, let's let's go together, like that type of thing. But we hadn't gotten to that point. But I was, kind of taking my time because again, my Mac game wasn't there yet. And so I'll never forget it. I was, and one of my homeboys, one of my homegirls who knew her, she said, "Yo, she actually has a picture of you in her room." And I was like, "Picture?" And there was a picture of me that appeared in the newspaper, and with one of my teammates who was being featured in the paper. And shout out to Robert Porsche from the Detroit Lions. So it was a picture of me and Porsche in the picture. And somehow she got the picture and she had the picture on her wall. So that was like, so I'm like, okay, we vibing. Like she's digging me, I'm digging her. And so maybe about a week later after I found out about the picture, I'll never forget I was talking to one of my homeboy. Let's call my homeboy Chad. Because we're gonna use names here to protect the guilty. His name is Chad. Her name is Jana. Okay. So I'm talking to Chad, and me and Chad are walking. We're walking up. We're at the front of campus by Washington Dining Hall. And so me and Chad cross the street, and right across the street from the dining hall is the girls' dorm where she lived. And so Chad was like, "Yo," he's like, "Man, me and Ronnie, we got it with a couple of chicks last night. And this shit he said shit got crazy. It was wild, man. We had sex and everything." And he didn't say none of those words, but you get the gist. And so I was like, okay. I said, that's what's up. I said, so who'd you knock down? And he was like, man, this chick, man, she from Columbia. Her name is Jana. And I was like, Jana? Word? I was like, what she look like? And he was like, oh man, she's short, dark skinned, long hair, da 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 da. And as he's describing it, I'm like, wow, he really smashed the girl that I've been talking to for the last month. I'm like, she smashed the homie. I couldn't believe she smashed. And now keep in mind, she don't know me and Chad are boys. I don't know how. Well, here's the thing. If she had had a conversation with him, she would have realized that Chad and I are from the same place. And so that right there should have been a dead giveaway because Chad and I went to high school together. Right. And so she don't know that I know that she smashed the homie. And this is truly the homie. And so I'm like, so I'm asking Chad these questions, and Chad was like, man, she did it like this, she did it like that, whoop de whoop. I'm like, oh, word? Okay. And so in my mind, I'm not tripping, but I'm also on some like, I can't believe like you smashed the dude, and I'm thinking like me and you got something. And so I don't know what happened. I just know like after Chad told me that, for some strange reason, she called me later that night. I think I answered the phone. I was like, let me call you back. And so she called me the next day, didn't answer the phone. She called me the next day, didn't answer the phone. And so she saw me at the calf at Washington Dining Hall, and I walked right past her. I walked like I did not even see her. And it wasn't because I was mad or hurt, because I wasn't hurt because she wasn't my girl, but it was me being petty. And so to this day, in 2026, I have not spoken to that woman since 1991. And what's funny is, listen, I'm married. I moved on. Obviously, I think she's single. I don't know. And it's funny because like Jana's name sometimes, like on Facebook, they'll have a little thing where it says people you may know. Jana's name will pop up. Skip. I'm petty like that. There's absolutely, and we've been in the same spaces before. In fact, I think I just saw her. Where did I see her? Oh, I saw her at the Celebration Bowl. Our school, our alma mater, played in the Celebration Bowl here in Atlanta and defeated Prairie View A&M in the Celebration Bowl by a score of 40-38 in 4 overtime. Shout out to Jay Boog. And yeah, I saw her. I saw her from a distance though. It wasn't. But if I saw her up close, like I walk right past it. Petty. You can't do me like you can't smash the homie. If she had smashed some other dude, that'd have been cool. But she smashed the homie, man. And here's the funny thing, like I never told a homie that I was digging her like that, because at that point it didn't matter. I mean, once he told me she smashed the homie, I'm like, nah, I can't rock with you like that. You're a loose woman. Man, listen, I don't know where that came from as far as that mentality, but yeah, I mean, I was just petty. And so now, again, I don't care now. Could I speak to her now? If she spoke, would I speak back? Maybe. I don't know. The petty, I just got to carry it. I mean, like, we keep it going. Why not? I mean, like, we've gone all this other time without speaking with you. And again, we've been in the same place several times. We've been in the same parties before. We've been, obviously we've been in football games together and stuff like that, but I don't know much about her. I don't know, where she lives or anything like that. She's aged well from what I've seen, but nah, I ain't got nothing to say. Cause you smashed the homies and you ain't smashed me. So in conclusion, was Jamel Hill and Carrie Champion correct? Are we petty? We can be. I mean, I think listen, I think all of us are petty to some degree. It's just how far you carry it. Now, if you carry it for a little while, then maybe you're not petty. But if you carry it for 30 years, you just might be a little bit petty. I know I am. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes weekly. Make sure that you also subscribe to the Rap Soul podcast. That's my personal music podcast where we talk about music and artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to rap, hip hop, soul, and R&B. It's the best music podcast that you've never heard. Programming note, going forward, the Rap Soul podcast and the 12 Kyle podcast will be dropping their episodes every Thursday. So if you're going to get a Rap Soul podcast or you're going to get a 12 Kyle podcast, it'll be on Thursday. I know in the, previous years or so, I've tried to kind of move the Rap Soul podcast around, trying to find the right date. But for right now, let's drop them on Thursday. So when you get an episode, so it's important that you subscribe. If you'd like to contribute to this podcast financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, we have merch. Click the link in the description box that is labeled merch, and you can buy 12 Kyle podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I will catch you guys next time. 5,000. Yeah.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.